important the document. We took the positions that move away from everything that was or made us or kept us, and we have to move to address what? Our history. Because history is what we do today. Because we want to address our history, we want to take the history that we had before, the mistakes we done and everything to be buried, and so that Gambia would be remembered for the courage they had, and finally changing the course of history. This was the reason we had this vote. And people knew what 1997 constitution that it does not make sense. You cannot, even Malane lawyers, they are not even confident whether the articles where they're reading from the 1990s, it's actually there or legally put in there. That document, then and everybody connect on opposition or any stakeholder that document was not fit for purpose. Now we end up having that document rather than any other document. That's what we said. But this is not the people decided that. This is a group of MP decided that this is then the executive. Barrow went and tampered with the legislator. Gambia Solen ko bayini si yenda. I'll tell you, I'll get to that. But this is the executive tampering with the legislator. He started with these vehicles given to the MPs. And I want a responsible MP to go and ask Yankuba Dabo at the GRA if he did not purchase those vehicles from the coffers of the state. It's a lie. There's no anonymous donor. I made these allegations to Yankuba that it was. And these vehicles were purchased, ordered before elections, were ordered by Yajame for the same purpose, to give it to MPs so that he can have his way in creating himself whatever he wants from it. It was promised. There are evidence every line everywhere. Yajame made the statement order na moto MP bu nekk di nga am moto ben MP du fi dugal gele gele. We had those evidence. And more bunyo hand over moto you see Yankuba Dabo in the middle of everything. Moto for you it was given to the Minister of Communication, Demba Balde. Balde at the communication house, GRTS, Pujoko GRTS. Those four can more for the customs. Yankuba handing over at the Bunyo hand over time. Yankuba was in the middle of everything. We knew, and that handing over, the Ahmad Batahau Fufu, them then said recording. Ahmad Bat said it. These people could not even, hide their strategy to say dinañ dem amen the section 91 this is what they did. Ñu dem amen ko. They dem amen what that's where it started, and we had evidence again. Barrow and members of parliament came out yet Mali Jobate, Mali Sisi and others to say that they have received the money. We have evidence that he had tampered. He have bribed. Bribery is a crime. He have given money and other things we don't know. He tampered with the legislature in order to start to damage our democracy. This is the facts. It's up to Gambia. Now, with the importance of this document, we lost it because of this intent, and why we needed the document, it was this. Now, how? How was this possible? The process we adopted in creating a draft, how did we do it? The government position on addressing the direct influencing the narrative. The draft, in fact, is a government draft. You see, today, if Gambians have understand government lost a vote, government should resign. Adama Barrow should resign. The speaker, the justice minister should resign, because this is their bill. David Cameron of United Kingdom went and presented what he had promised, that a vote will be given after elections for what a referendum to decide the position of United Kingdom in Europe. Adama Barrow and the coalition government went to their manifesto to say that when they win elections, they will come to the Gambian people and present a transition of 3 years and the other things that they put into that MOU. And this MOU was a contract because Adam Barrow partook in the contract because he had to resign from a party in order to be independent. And Adam Barrow went to the IEC to present, and he was presented to the IEC by his colleagues who all signed onto the same document to the IEC as an independent. Even the symbol of the party became this. They decided to abandon their colors to take a neutral color, and that symbolized as one. He partook in everything, and it was the MOU that was translated into a manifesto to address what the fundamental freedoms and dignity for Gambians, standard of living, and to make sure the democratization would happen, and so would happen reconciliation and reconstruction of the democratized transitional justice. This is what we went with a manifesto to the IEC, and IEC accepted this manifesto for Adama Barrow to be a candidate. And Adama Barrow took the same statement and went around the country and gave his promise to the Gambian. And the Gambian diaspora, for that matter, and Gambians on the ground rallied, took their finance, took their logistics and everything, spirit and prayers and everything, and visit onto him and his team to usher us to that destination. What happened? He break that promise. Now, in the process of delivering, you fail on every obstacle. You fail on the 3 years. You said that because of you needed to deliver this, but you failed to deliver the things you needed to deliver within the 5 years. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely, it's a continuity. You abandon the transition and everything else. Why should Gambian agree or accept the status quo? This is what we fought for. This is what Solo Sendeng died, and many other people before Solo Sendeng. This is what other people sacrificed their life, and they were lucky to witness today. This is what many people, shed tears and blood and their whole career and everything through this. And ñu bëgg ko nangu ne Adama Barrow wu taxaw at ñora dem now rek léegi mooy di alpha and omega, because few people decided to make that. That's not ñun, and we get that. Now, for Adama Barrow to put taxaw wax loolu mu bëgg ko def mu fail on everything. Mu jël a bill, and this is something part of the project to deliver a draft constitution, but ñu gis ne moom si boppam moo dugal loxoom bokke si speaker bi jàppale ko ñu dem rey bill bi. Loolu doy na. That's contempt. Loolu doy na. Gambian si am nañ right to ask him to leave. Comme que amul the courage to leave, we can ask him to leave, but dinañ jóge foofu further down. This is how they do it. Léegi mu dem def draft. Soo defee a draft, soo yóbboo dara danga ko yóbbu pour mu dox, danga ko bëgg a influence, danga ko defar pour mu dox nga win ko. David Cameron bu mu félee mu dafa dem dafa am pour campagne, yes, mu fail dafa am pour resign because of a fail. lu mu promission deliver ko moo tax ñu sànnil ko. But it's not only that process lañ dem on from the process of what act of parliament and make sure in fact the resources came in, resources of a new, and that's resources more people knew what EUB or new what I mean. Look, ku naka invitation by Nolly ko xamne bokk na ci ndabli am na right to demand share, am nañ interest, and the world is a global community right now. We are a sovereign state, but we belong and we are signatory to international convention, and we are receiving the support at grants and whatever it is because of the sign up to these principles. Then those stakeholders am nañ sañ-sañ bi, but we'll get to that. With everything you prepared, the Minister of Justice was mandated to deliver this. Mu dem di def yëpp ba pare indi an act yóbbu ko parliament. Laata mu yóbbu ko parliament ñun nañ fa nekka pour suñ interest to make sure ne luñ bugga mu ngi ko def. But from there on buñ demee parliament agree ko. Parliament agree ko. Ñoom ñoo jox mandate on our behalf to the CRC, ñu constitute the CRC bi wa ko def. CRC bi jógee fa war a dem to the extent of the consultation, from consultation for the to draft, consultation to draft, ñu def consultation yëpp dugab fu nekk def ko si language yi dem fu nekk wax stakeholders yi yëpp dem si diaspora bi laal nuñ ko mun a laal yëpp. I sat here many days and hours to host Gambians yi ñëw wax seen xalaat ñu document yëpp jox leen ñu def seen analysis def yëpp ñu dem defar a draft buñ defaree draft bi tam ñu ñëwaat ne lii lañ waxante woon ñu dugalalaat loolu demaat waxaat it yëpp. We did all that. Government bi at xaalis bi even the cost dañ loolu yëpp dañ ñu joxoon ñun ñoo ko bàyyi mu dem 116 because yëpp was transparent mu ngi fa taw. Then you present that draft buñ ko présenté ba mu pare léegi lañ ko jox government ne ñun suñ liggéey fii la war a léegi ñu ngi leen a déglu foo leen bëgg ñu jàppalante waaye ak bi la fa wax ne ñaata diir la ko président bi mun a xool ak nguuram pour seet balañ koo jël dugal ko notify ko ne mu ngi fii léegi pour jëlaat ko nag yóbbu ko waat si parlement lan lañ wax pour yóbbu ko si parlement mooy ñu gestuwaat ko balañ koo indil nit ñi su leen neexoon gestu ko duñ ko laal joxe ko su leen neexoon am nañ droit bi xool certain things ni déedéet ñun dañ bëggal lii dox dañ koo def nii waaye eggu fa buñ demee rek ñoom plan nañ bëggoon mu dem si nit ñi loolu is an abuse. You are not working dañ war a liggéey to the interest dem leen xool di constitution nu mu wax dañ war a liggéey to the interest of the people but amut they abuse that trust moo tax mu fail but that's what happened. That's how it happened. But actually, what actually happened? That's how it happened. What actually happened? Because making sure we get a fit for purpose 21st century progressive and forward-looking constitution. If you want to have a constitution that's forward-looking, amul benn constitution bu nit di binda doomu aadama every section of community ànd si amul benn constitution bu doomu aadama di binda everybody ànd si. That debate be about the constitution was actually some of these areas. No. The things you want MP it's nothing about that. It's all about Adama Barrow Bugoko because of power so have the jël nañ ko ci président bi te dafa right lan moo ko dictate dafa am lu dictate lu tax ñu ne power si dañ koo jàppa because gis nañ power si lu moo def lan ne ñaar 2 terms gis nañ lum ñu indil ci first republic gis nañ lum ñu indil ci dictatorship gis nañ Africa lum fi indi te gis nañ ne 2 terms boobu sax lan la indi Gambia progressive ne nañ ko answer muy Sénégal muy Ivory Coast muy Guinea Conakry all those muy Uganda all these places lijjanti nañ ko yaax ko ñu ne nañ make sure 2 terms waxuñ ne Adama Barrow dañ ne place bi Adama Barrow moom dafa bëgg a wax ne moom xam na ne fa win elections dañ ne anybody ku fa nekk Adama Barrow mun naa daanu dee tey then mom was it discriminating ko? It's not about him, it's the position of presidency 2 terms. But this is the arrogance boo xam ne dugal nañ ko ci boppi Adama Barrow and this is am na lu mu wax about mindset am ak lu mu pare suñ waxtaanee lu ñu war a def nañ ko xam but these are the things yoo xam ne am nañ ko problème pour ne 24 secure for progressive obviously nañ am fuñ ñàkk a gis but end of the day that's what constitutions are. Lan lañ def pour guarantee an outcome. The government dañ woon am a strategy to guarantee an outcome seen document ñoo ko indi ñoo ko push but government lañ wax but dañ war a proactive effective throughout the process. The civil society, political class, interest groups, the elites and the oversight agencies. moo tax ma ne duñ toog fi di blame Adama Barrow bon ñu na sax dañ war a génne that mindset ne jàmme la Adama Barrow ñun la ñoo deful suñu liggéey when we sound the bell defuñ ko proactive naka lañ ko defee you see the CRC def nañ loo xam ne moom lañ mandate consultation how ñoom legitimately def nañu war a def ñun su dee even di cost bu ñoo wax ñun ñoo defut suñu bos ñun ñoo am pour scrutinize ñun ñoo am pour scrutinize muy parliament muy oversight agency muy citizens yi ñoo am pour scrutinize what lan lañ def we just take it aside there's some of the issues yoo xam ne mu ngi si constitution bi we have to understand one thing dafa am interest groups yoo xam ne dañ strategize effectively campaign and make sure ñu am ko fa ñun lan lañ def we all saw the Wahhabi movement mu jaral leen ba ñooy jëlee ay speakers from here United Kingdom ñëw di propagate about LGBT and all those nonsense part of the discourse. End of the day, CRC bi dañoo jël input. What do you expect? I don't like it. I want a secular, completely secular this thing. Loolu laa bëgga. But we fail. Tey soo demoon laaj the average Gambian daf laa wax ne probably he wants an Islamic state. And I will come to the implications of that. Moo tax ma ne ñun ñooy fail. When? First, I would not blame civil society for that. Because civil society tried and you want to try. And they've been trying and you continue to try. Civil society cannot be effective because they are not even given a conducive environment. Civil society then want to make a transition be under this government. Then want to understand in order to repair the damage that happened, we should have learned from our history when we had independence how the PPP marginalized civil society and marginalized the opposition. And so on. Our disgruntledness at yep, we couldn't channel it anywhere legal and illegal action happened. This thing should have been learned. Civil society is part of governance. Opposition is part of governance to make sure the opposition they are vibrant. What on your regal democracy? Then what a HO compete soon halak. Moy yok rew. But did it new door. Civil society definitely different enemy. Civil society trying, I'm not gonna blame them. The political class, the establishment, the opposition, even UDP, when they come from government opposition, I keep saying this. Go back and strategize, come together. Come together of what? What money from a coalition to run elections? No. Putting in hold the executive powers of executive. The only way to do this is to start to hold and know strategically the whole this government account. No land opposition be up. How them into the inter-party discussions. The opposition could have come with their own position, not a UDP position, PDI position, NRP position, key position, killer position. But you could have come with a position 10 points. You agree on this 10 points, you carry the people with you. But you land those 10 points. You can't take because you have the people with you. Come with 10 points. Everything Lolen Buga had 10 points. Feeling Buga is. These are the major this problem. Secular state then ko ampo guarantee because of this we have to be progressive. One. I mean 2 terms amut negotiate. Then make sure new entrant ko the limit the powers of the president then Codef. At first lady be then Codef. The accountability and all those actions you have got 10 points. You table ko si kanami naka CRC. And this is our position as opposition. Is Barrow gonna take them on? No. Probably that split with MPC that's do not know. But no, we don't understand that. We like blaming each other and fighting against each other. To the but I'll tell you one thing, not only the opposition. Not only the opposition. Citizens. We are broken. That's why the country is broken. Not only the opposition. Another point I want to raise, because name nafi as stakeholders. What nafi the civil society? Explain now the civil society position. The political class, boy, the opposition and the political establishment. Interest groups. What now interest groups? Interest groups did their lobby. And that's what happened. The Wahhabi did their lobby. And probably some other groups did their lobby. Position. This is what does happen. Now, these people, they went round to do their game. When you're deficient lobby, we should always take a common position in this. The Christians, the progressive citizens, the other sectarians within the Islamic umbrella, mooy di Tijaniya, mooy di Muridiya, mooy di Khadiriya, mooy di naka Ahmadiyya. Every those people, Islamic State, it's not to your advantage. Islamic State, it's an issue of Wahhabism. Suñ jëloon a whole position and take on the Wahhabis because of the luñ enjoy suñ réew ñu ko enjoy due to this secularism. Whether you like it or not, I am not going to negotiate about that. I believe in it, and it's a proof. In Egypt, what hold Egypt together? Lana taxoon Mubarak mun a hold Egypt because of the guarantee. The army guaranteed secularism in Egypt, and that unified the elites, the influencers, to make sure, regardless of undemocratic nature of the army or the government of Mubarak, they could distinguish, because Mubarak was effective to a level of keeping the country together. That's secularism. But because of the failure, Lanatamu failed. Authoritarian regime do fail because of then they expire. Because of the population dynamics that have changed. The youth, the social media presence at the climate of the democratic win the intelligence of the Americas post in Africa and the Middle East. The open society strategies move in and get to the youths. And now it started from police brutality. But before police brutality, there was the bread strike, there was the rice strike, there was the strike for joblessness, there was the strike for other things. But what break the camel's back was police brutality. And all this other group converge. But all the brotherhood, the Salafis, and everybody else, you get this gone to. But they don't trust each other. But when the camel's back was broken and Nip converged at the Tahrir Square, what happened? They needed leadership. Because of the brotherhood, the Islamic Brotherhood was more organized. They've been underground. They've sent social projects. They send surgeries, doctor surgeries. Like food banks and everything they run, and waiting for that time. Boom, bam, they came out. And they ensured with the sponsors they have, they won the election. The minute they won the election, what do? They start to angle themselves into Islamic establishment, but something that favors them. They started to link to the brotherhood movement in the Arab world. Now the Salafis, the Wahhabis, Salafis, Hanafis became threatened. The Christian, Coptic Christian became threatened. The youths, the women, establishment and youths, they became threatened. Everybody became threatened. And the army used that opportunity. Sisi used the opportunity and broke down. Went on them. And that's why the uprising could not, the uprising succeeded. And the army took over again to reassure the secularism of the state. But the Sisi is struggling now because still the economic realities of that country, because of the representations, the damage done. Barrow Lolo understand Gambia, Lolo Fahew, the dynamics have completely changed. The youth, the women forces, and the joblessness, the conditions is unbearable. An incompetent leader cannot rule the country regardless of muscles or anything. You have manipulations. If you think that we are that divided, no. It's just up to that minority influences to rise up and inspire the Gambian people to bring about trust, to bring about unity, and will change the political dynamics. That's what will bring about the change. Then that's what we're talking about. That's what the lobbyists would do, interest groups would do. But now, the Gambian influences, the Gambian intelligentsia should be an answer to this problem. The political establishment have completely failed because they compromised themselves. They ensured Barrow tried to entrench himself. They are lucky, or we are lucky that Barrow is incompetent. We are lucky that the economic conditions and the pandemics and everything that presents itself, it's a challenge that Barrow cannot deal with. The corruption, the incompetence and corruption that Barrow inherited and in fact nurtured would, that was the, that's the break for Barrow. He cannot change that, and Gambians cannot settle for that. That's what we have in Senegal. Macky Sall right on the same thing, because of Wada completely failed the narrative, and the Senegalese intelligentsia, again, an intelligentsia, the smart Senegalese, the progressive Senegalese refuse to accept this insult to their intelligence, that you will come and to break our democracy and to stay on for third term. Not only that, and want to coronate your son Karim to be to inherit your position. The intelligence refused. That's how he lost the vote. And it was the intelligence that made sure Macky Sall, they settled with Macky Sall. Because Macky Sall managed to win and inspire them. Based on what Macky Sall maneuvered from the PDS to become an anti-establishment leader. But Macky Sall right on what the outrage that was already happening with Yana Mar and every other thing. And the Senegalese intelligence settled with Macky Sall. Macky Sall was not, there were other candidates. Why did they settle with Macky Sall? Because of he broke the mold in a sense. He made a point of holding accountability when he, decided to take that risk to call Karim Wada to the house to be accountable and ready to sacrifice his position as Speaker of the House. Yes, and obviously the capitals he built when he was his government, and he was, he won the vote. Remember that it was a second round. The opposition could have turned around and supported Wada, but they refused to support Wada. Wada is the most generous African president you will ever find. Senegalese will tell you that. Most of the problems of the flood, what you see in Senegal today, is the result of the generosity of Wada for what he did with the land of Senegal, trying to transform Senegal and created millionaires from his cabal. And Senegalese intelligence would not allow that. Léegi des na ñun Gambia suñ intelligence, intelligent people, smart people, affluent people, people that would call themselves to be forward-looking, progressive, to stand out, to make sure you taxaw and complement the efforts of the political class to transform the political class. We need a transformation in order to bring about change. It's not about taking out Barrow, but to make sure we are not going to settle for anybody but Barrow. That was something prudent to do with Yajam, because of that was to manage the risk. Take out Yajame, then we can have control to save our lives and manage within the space and time to rebuild. They felt now that was an argument that could have made. But this time around, it's matter of making sure we govern that country. We don't allow nobody to rule us, especially incompetent and corrupt person. It's a shame to know that these are the people determine our destiny. That's the same. Then lolo taf money. So you say this constitution muna am. I mean, what actually happened? This is what happened because of the proactiveness in the Yepul interest group LHC oversight institutions. He failed. Well, how do you go through this campaign? Every political party know present na sumo position. Lila Sibuga. How can that determine the You cannot determine that to happen. No, you come in a study, you want to how Lila, new house. How much discussion did happen on radio, on people? No, Amut. We took it for granted because of then you had 1970. No, we have not even looked at the legislation. The act properly. We have not done that. Politic Yamane. This is why are you disappointed? I did the count. I said this from the beginning. It's not going to pass. Even, I'll tell you one thing. Even to pass Guinness in the Demlin referendum, it's not going to pass. I'll never bank on this. It was not going to pass in after referendum. at the referendum. 75%. Tell me one thing that you can have 75% of Gambian to agree on, apart from a dictator determine what's going to happen. Tell me one thing you have 75% of Gambian to agree on. That's why we should have even agreed from the acne, or how are we going to present this constitution. We could have two options of the constitution, this bit here and that bit there. Now, which Gambians can vote for this, A or B? There's many ways to do things. The most important thing when Gambians decided to adopt a new constitution. This is what happened. Now, you hold onto this. This is what happened. Dealing with the present outcome. Where do we go from here? The challenges, the end goal. We talked about. When you hear about this, about this constitution, let you feel how. Fan lañoo dem. Because when you talk about this constitution, it was about discrimination. Yes, people come to say it is discriminatory, and I completely agree. And I would say this to my Christian brothers and sisters: let them not make this about them. This is about not being progressive. If they don't want to alienate themselves to make this about them, this is about discriminating any progressive Gambian. This is about discriminating women. The reason with the women movement or the anti-religious, anti-Islamist movement worked in Sudan is because of them find a common ground. The people from the West, from the people from the minorities, did not stand to say they're going to fight because of they are the one disadvantaged. No. They did that for many years, and the dictator would not let them. And this was a dictatorship. We have a democracy right now. It's easier to do. In Sudan, the Darfuri and others, the Janjaweed did everything to them. The rest of the Sudanese looked on. The Janjaweed were powerful. So I mean, it was a militia for the regime, and Bashir was in charge with his intelligence officers and others and so on. The intelligence was, very powerful and holding on to the women movement suffered because of this discriminating, the laws, the Islamic laws, and everything that's been put into the constitution. But the youths, again, because of the corruption and everything that ensured, the lack of freedoms, stifled the youths, they say every sector realized that the only way they can bring about change is coming together. That's why we should be very sensitive when we launch a campaign. We don't want to alienate. We want to make sure we succeed. We have to come together. We have to be very strategic. They decided through civil society movement to come together to address their problems. They organized themselves. They came with strategies to win. The unions joined in everything. It's a matter of concern. It's bad governance. This is not about the problem. It's our social cohesion. It's a strategy we have to dictate to be definitely in order to control us. We are divided. We are watching. Tey su jógee dal si jigéen ñi, dal si ndaw ñi, dal si Darfuri, dal si other people, dal si politicians. We don't do that. But the political class was the same. Because the main political parties here, they were all ganging on the Islamic State or Islamic movements. Now, how can you do this change? They know together. They hold together. They strategize. They win confidence. They take them on. And the strategy, mun nañ see duga waxtaan nañ ko before. What ensured they won? Naka lañ winné? Buñ démé bam méti, the political class gis ne these people will succeed in New York. They in fact avoided to make these things about international influence. They refuse to ask the international community intelligence here to address them. They make it a Sudanese problem. When you President Bidano, what happened? The army started to play games. trying to continue the status quo. You don't know. And the politicians would have settled down. Have seen that we have seen that in Zimbabwe. We have seen that in Mali. Civil society needed it. Tay, the leader of the Sudanese, is a civil society leader. Leaders, the minister of external affairs is a woman. The minister of finance is a woman. Tay, the law, most of those laws have been thrown out. The Islamic articles have been thrown out, and they fought against a dictatorship. Then, should we fight for secularism? Should we fight for all this? We need to have a conversation. We need to have a conversation. We need to build this relationship. We need to, mend the social fabric. We need to rebuild the social cohesion. One in a Gambia, in Benaline. We cannot do it by tahu in different platforms. We have to bring and stand on one platform. Because of this, it's not against the Christians. It's against progressive Muslims. It's against women. It's against sex in the Christian, in the Muslim this thing. It's against a majority, not a minority. This is a minority trying to impose. And Manglen Wahne, be careful what you wish for. So now can definitely what a opportunity when I'm to remake history. Moine anybody could know any side when by Muduga. am na beneen doole boo xam ne Gambians will give up and dina def leneen te some of these saay-saay dinañ jox Wahhabi anything pour am xaalis ci Saudi and other things. Do you realize how much was done by civil society to in fact pull the plug? Dem nañ laajte lan sax Adama Barrow fu mu ne nii du wax about Saudi Arabia. Dem nañ laajte lan sax Saudi Arabia military amatuñ any influence in the Gambia army because something was done by civil society. And most of those people, they don't recognize their religion as and no, religion is a private thing for them. There are people who are progressive. Gambia lañ gis ne suñ bàyyee Gambia with Adama Barrow and all these things about Saudi Arabia, Gambia moo yaa. People developed, dañ dem binda bem set wane ko bem set taxaw jaar am jaar yuñ jaar génne ko fa lu nekka suñ taxawee mun nañ ko faa génne suñ réew la. Moo tax ma ne we have to be very careful. Discrimination is one thing, and discrimination is not against only the people done to them, but any progressive person in that society, it's against you, should be against your value. This is about values, and these values are common. They are not Christian values, they are not Muslim values, they are human values. Then society, mom la tiye. We cannot hold any values more than each other. Christian law, Muslim law, that's divisive. Suñ ñu tooñee nañ all luñ ñu tooñ. These people don't care. The majority of Gambians are Muslims, te ñoom lañ gën a halak. Majority of people dying in hospitals are Muslim. Do they care? These people are not, that's reckless they are. Majority of people suffering, the children failing in schools are Muslims. Do they care? They only care about their wives and kids. But we should not give them that power. Just as when we talk about tribe, we should not give them that power. We should come together and understand. One area was about discrimination. The other area was about protection. Protection from where? The check and balance system. Judiciary, when we come to it, it was about protection. This is law hamne articles yoo hamne mot lañ protection to protect what? Gain that abuse of power from the president. The firing, hiring, and kukone mujel tabako fukone whether. No, we did not give you that power to harm us. We give you that power in order for you to effective. But realize then this power should not be given loosely because you cannot guarantee. We could not this is our constitution. We recognize that we take it up protection to protect ourselves from harm. That's protect. You put protection, democracy, the check and balance system. Protect the minority. These are all issues. Mortar money. You know, anybody progressive is part of this. You are protected. Injustice into what anybody is injustice to everybody. képp ku jàppale nit mu not nit kooku mun doo garanté ne su amee doole o su karte yu ceeñi du la not. That's what happened to Adama Barrow. Dem leen xool Adama Barrow tey ñu moo gën a not mooy ñu àndoonam. Yaaya Jammeh ñan la gën a not after mooy ñu àndoonam. This is loo xam ne dañ ci war a jànge. This protection, we cannot protect ne dañoo protect a particular. No, we protect against injustice. We protect to make sure we take the powers and put powers here and delloo ko si nit ñi. Naka lañ ko delloo si nit ñi jox ko parliament. What's wrong with that? Kan moo war a complain about that? Look, su nekkee da nga dem pour jox la pour nga govern ñu teg si sat soo ko bëgg nga bàyyi kenn forcé wu la. Who are you to demand ne da nga war am all these powers? You are an individual. Adama Barrow mooy kan? Gis nañ fi nga jàpp sa jabar ngeen sàcc xaalis nit ñi ba sona léegi ñu ne la because of this jàngee nañ ko si Zeynab Zuma Jammeh jàngee nañ ko si yow léegi dañoo make sure ne any président bu fi ñëw sa jabar dafa am nañ make sure ne bés bu mu fi nañ ko mun a oo because of lan gis nañ abuse buy am ñu ne la bugga nañ ne saa yu ñu la soxlee ñu oola si house bi nga ne déedéet bu leen am doole boobu te ñun ñooy fay sa dépense ñoo laa defar lu nekk nga ne amuñ doole boobu. This is what has happened. Protection bi is for everybody. ñun ñëpp ñooy benefit. Then the other position mooy empowerment. To empower who? The sovereign, the people. Anything luñ def fi discrimination, in the protection is to empower. Am safety nets, social justice, democracy bi taw. Then ñu empowering the women. Why? It's to the benefit of society. Nekkut ne anything. It's matter of being smart because you invest in women. The productivity boy am more upper. We all know how it works. ñun xam nañ ko am nañ jabar am nañ yaay xam nañ difference bi xam nañ the time and everything. We know that. Suñ investir si xale yi suñ boppa because these people ñoo amee. What's the problem with that? Suñ empower communities, minorities, it's the decency in us. Empower them because of different need. Because people empower di jàppale def lu ñu war def loolu la fa right as a society noonu lañu war a mel. Am problem with that. Then suñ xoolee constitution bi yëpp lii lañ see xool. And this is what du fa ne war na nekk but no debate bi yëpp it was not about this. Dañoo jël excuses di tayteelu indi loo xam ne is technically plain English. It's not complicated. You have time. Hey, suñ proactive on every MP am nga enough time balaa toog parliament liggéey sa liggéey du dem parliament sa liggéey is out of parliament ñëpp nga xool constitution bi yëpp ngeen taxaw muy seen sis maa ngi si radio muy seen political party and everything ñëpp seen position woon naa clear. This thing would have been dealt with the minute bu mu nekkee si draft bu ñu leen joxee draft bi bala ñoo jël affaire balaa bu ñu leen consulter at the draft moo tax ma ne suñ proactive on def the right thing position si would have been clear ni ko duñ am this problem. We failed and Adama Barrow sax foog na ni winut Gambia is broken and Gambia ñoo need to do that fixing. Now where we go from here? Where do we go from here? Gambia moom lañu war a laajte. Is it the same old? Move on to how they are. What the political party is going to do? What is civil society going to do? Is civil society and political party smart enough to come together this time around to understand what at stake? What is the people that call themselves independent, people that call them progressive, dañ eewu ñoom ñoo xam lu right lu wrong ñoom ñoo gën a gaaw lan ngeen a def? This is your stake. This is your stake. If this democracy fails, I keep saying this. You know, When you have a resemblance of democracy, if it fails, you go to an authoritarian rule. But if you come from an authoritarian rule, ngeen génn foofu am ngeen dem laal freedom si, dem nekk in the space, ñu ooyee ko transition to democratic rule, is a dangerous position. Because the mindsets, the people getting used to freedoms, the interest groups, actors, at everything impact, the institution fragility. Because of one thing about authoritarian leaders, Moine, they know how to handle this institution. They are not fit for purpose, but they design them that way and control them. What are the reforms important? Security sector reforms and everything. Now to hold that. Now, if we fail here, we haven't done the civil service reforms. We have not done security sector reforms. Society is completely fragile due to the social fabric completely gone, social cohesion misplaced, and everything. Distortions about everything that we know. Our mindsets are not right in the right place. Now you have government bobu su failure. Now what do you have in place? Security sector being and this is the threat we have. I am not talking about I'm telling you something worse than that. It's not about authoritarian. I mean, an authoritarian rule, a dictatorship. We tried. Do you know what you have? A complete breakdown and down to civil war. We are back inside the woods. Then no one better the exit talibi. This is what happened in Sierra Leone. This is happened with Liberia. This is what happened with Ivory Coast. This is what happened in Guinea-Bissau. Them then said the transition from colonial to multi-party democracy. Lafa made it up. Them then hold every Dekabuko tribe. What happened? And this is what is presented to Gambia again. And if we are not careful, and those people knew what they're smart or then smart, those people banya bokkos in politics, or those people ne bokkos in politics why ñu ngi ci politics because ñoy private sector bi ñoo nekk di njuuj njaaj di def yëpp. When society completely break between the half and the have-nots, the decent people or ñoo xam ne am nañ capacity, what they do, they run and protect themselves. Because what they still have hope in their future, they still have hope for society. They are responsible, they act responsible. This is what happened in every civil war. What happened? The vagabonds and the immature, dissolute, and everything will come to lead that so-called struggle. This is why you have the child stealers for the sonkos and all these mosquitoes and all these people call. Then you have the kids, not even youths, the kids and youths, then all the youths that normally take part in these things. They are angry. They are envious, angry, and everything you call lol and koi. I mean, some of these people started experimenting and you get absent problem. Do you know what they do? They go and look for revenge. The people they perceive ñoo leen teg luñ nekk, the elites. People they see as elites, people in affluent suburbs. Dem leen xool Ivory Coast, dem leen xool Sierra Leone, dem leen xool Liberia. Guinea-Bissau never recovered from the war. Dara amutoon dem leen xool state house yi Guinea-Bissau bi nu meloon foog naa ne tey am na improvement. They will come there. Looy wane ne it's about revenge. It's not about sàcca or jël sa alal. Because they will take that. Nañ make sure jël nañ loolu luñ mën a sàcca yëpp nañ ko sàcca nañ jël luñ mën a move ko suñ mënee dawal moto nañ jël sa moto and everything. Léegi suñ paree dañoo ñëw si yow muy góor muy jigéen ñu rape leen. Rape because that's the anger. It's about revenge. It's about inflicting pain on you for all these years or whatever. Or ñu ngi tàggaaroo seen sago. Because the responsible people have gone. Now the army is divided. Now, the army, the people with a little bit of capacity is trying to maintain control, trying to maintain this. Others, you get divided. They're fighting each other, factions. That's how you create factions. 1 minute, someone and your neck together to give opportunity, can end them. Build Benin faction and the Dekabijaso. They will rape you, they'll take everything, and you talk. So, they will take everything light. So lucky that daw they make a refuge. Them then hold the people that came refugee to the Gambia from Sierra Leone, from Liberia, and other places. How many of them were technocrats? How many of them were affluent and everything? They lost everything. But them then hold people new for this. Molawan. All these things are facts. And Gambia, we should look at this. This is what it at stake. But we have the democratic space to make sure this don't happen. And the political establishment have failed because of what they lack the capacity, they lack the integrity to pursue this because of then opportunity and Gambian si taxaw di seetaan suñ taxawee di xas naka la tudda House of Parliament waaw mënuñoo làkk angale xamuñ lu ñoo wax di suñ boppa lañ xas because we let them do that, we let them represent us. Suñ taxawee di xas Barbaro or minister or anybody ñun ñoo leen fa bàyyi, ñun ñoo bañ a bokka, ñun ñoo they came and maneuvered, they were there, they used the opportunity. Lan moo ëppa that position, lan moo ëppa nekk parliamentary, lan moo ëppa jël decisions, and we take the decision making at ëpp xoo xam ne moo ñu élif ñu jox ko ñoo xam ne mënuñ wala xamuñ or whatever, or they are not trustworthy, and we want to blame them when they have it wrong or they do wrong. We have to blame ourselves, and that change can only come from us. Suñ xoolee den now fuñ toolu mooy ne a contingency plan. What if a contingency plan is something low prepare before something happens? I had my contingency plan. The minute I jammed them, I started thinking, or we started thinking, was I was part of people already understanding what happens in a transitional. When we came out and wrote a petition for diaspora vote, it was about 4 or 5 months. People attack us. Wow, government be wax nañ ne dañoo dinañ joxe vote bi at yooyu because you were not forward thinking. We were forward thinking. We know what is going to happen. We tried to build an office in the Gambia, a civil society office to help mentor civil society, to help them to be effective, because we knew that civil society will be instrumental. But as we said, it's not easy to find the right people to run that office. We can't do anything. We took our own resources. We didn't take loans. We did not, I mean, how we got our money is our own money. We did not take, grants or any funding. We did it as Gambians come together, jël suñ resources, ñu loué suñ office, furnish suñ office, defar suñ documents, defar suñ policies, defar everything, register suñ and they try to get Gambians to do it. Hire a paid intern at it, but it was difficult. All the people that have that potential, no smoke defe might be conflicting because mangi wahap batambedu, no mangi wahap mambure, no demon nagis baro, mangi defli. Nyungla want to look, that's not it. We have to do something. Do muna dem boka sili, do them. That's what lolo tate about because nyun ham nañ lu don dem on. Danga am plan, danga am contingency plan. Now what if? What if now feeling told? I tell you, we already know, or what ham nga baro fum wala jem at fumo jem. You should already know. What do we do? Naka lañ def pour wutu ko. That's the solution part. And solution bi ñun ñëpp ko amé. Leadership bi su ñun ñëpp la nekk. We don't expect the opposition to deliver that. They have a role to play, but the opposition is us, ñun Gambians. I duma ko rusé, duma ko nobé, duma ko negotiate. I can never. Then they will never. I can never support Barrow for anything. I support the government when they have right or when they need the support, when they stand. Pune Barrow, I know this person the minute anything around him cannot be good. Anything is all. But that does not mean I will support any opposition party. I support all political parties to be effective, to transform themselves, because go money benching is fit for purpose. That's why I can only be effective by being outside to do that. So election duty, that's a different ball game. I have to take a position. But right now is the rebuilding process. To have that independence to be effective to bring about that change. To try to galvanize, to bring out the silent majority to come in because of mooy indi the change to indi the influential Gambians come in mun a gis seen interest fu mu nekk ak réew mi fu mu war a dem moo tax suñ ko xoolee technically what I'm talking about, what will happen if we fail to pass it? I mean, that was this morning when I was doing this question. But are we, from then we can take the people's power. We have the legitimate right to ask Barrow to leave. I made that point earlier. Because we have to enforce the transitional justice, avoiding the continuity. We have the right to say that we don't want a continuity because Barrow have completely failed. Now the people's power have to come into play. How do we want the people's power? As I said, I would never call out people to come out in the streets. Never. I support because I am not there. If Sumafaneke is a different ballgame. Because I'll be there and my boka dama boka leadership. What I can do, I will support anything law is with leadership and send clear intent hamnenko. And they are there to protect their right. At Lumutineka, Luma Boka, Lucet Line. But anybody who them exercise right, I support you. So much support for this longer at how responsible I am. Because Duma Boka law is not responsible. Duma Boka law is illegal. It has to be legally done based on the constitution, the rights. And Faknane, Gambians is up to them. It's up to the opposition, it's up to Gambian citizens to do what they feel like no more right. But I'm not option. Are we going to do that? I don't know. If it happens, what is going to happen? We need to support it. But let's move on. What else can happen? We have to make sure now. Barrow, we know what he wants. He wants to go to election with a 1997 constitution. Why? Now, that's where it comes on to make sure we make sure ne suñ election bi am na integrity suñ démocratie bi taxaw duñ toogaat fii. We learn our lesson, and this lesson we're going to learn from Barrow. We should learn this lesson from Yaya Jammeh played the same game and Kenen def na ko. But what we suñ ko laanee feneen or laanee ko Gambia, we'll understand what do you do to stop it. What was done in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, in all this country to stop it. No one nañ koo def. Naka lañ koo defee mooy to make sure loi boo xam ne moom lañ am doole boo xam ne jox nañ ko right buñ am a duty. It's a duty to taxaw protect the interests of the people, to the country, the sovereignty. These people will not do it for you. Xam nañ lu mu bugg a léegi ba pare juuj njaañ na yëpp bem des. But political parties then interest to this. But we know so many political parties, especially opposition, we know opposition, opposition, PPP, the votes tell you. The votes you want to help. GDC are opposition, yes, but they lost their parliamentarians. This is what happened. But losing a parliamentarian doesn't mean UDP, GDC lost support. No, that parliamentarian is just nobody. He only won because of he was a GDC ticket. These are the things we have to understand. All this parliamentarian new votal Barrow can't see Nyom Munuta retain a seat. Mohammed Ndaw cannot retain a seat. If it was not Tawal Banjul, Mohammed Ndaw would not be an MP. At Kenen. Now, these political parties, as we said, come back together, put Tahaw. Waxuma ne dem election as a loolu seen affaire la, but to make sure ne am nañ a level playing field, a free and fair, effective elections. Why effective? The IEC, you see, now what Barrow going to do? Now electoral reforms. Then you want to make sure you taxaw dellu. Just as I said, ne constitution bi dañu want to taxaw am a common ground. Then you want to taxaw on my common ground. We all know what we want in our electoral reforms at nuñ ko buggee. We are not going to risk them parliament. You see, it's easy to vote something down, but it's easy to win something. Barrow pour mu duga parliament in the legislation boo xam ne bëgguñ ko on elections, but that's impossible. But we are not taking chances. We are not taking chances. Loolu war naa am. Make sure ne am nañ electoral reforms, we have to fight that. ne am nañ electoral reform yi soxla the IEC dañ war a make sure because Barrow would tamper with it ne pare nañ and Barrow xam na ne pare nañ anything anytime and he will have the people out in the streets and people come for him. He have to understand that we are not going to relent. But these things have need leadership from the opposition. Civil society have to be part of it. Opposition be then want to make sure, just I said, what happened in Mali is true leadership. What happened in Sudan is true leadership, and civil society played a pivotal role. But civil society started, and opposition being ignored. The same parliamentary, you vote, yep, the vote yes. They all receive a letter from civil society in a convalescent parliament during the pandemic. And then now you should recognize that you need civil society to work with them. In order to elections see integrity, in order to preserve democracy, you a level playing field is an important thing. If not, did not cause a destabilization. Barrow cannot win a popular election. Barrow can only win election through new judge. And suñ ko alawee ñun ñoo ko nangu. This is something very clear. Te suñ toogee fii nag foog ne if we hold Barrow accountable, we are punishing UDP. No, we are punishing ourselves. The Gambian middle class mënatuta afford the basic necessities of life. ñoom gis nañ jënd moo tax gis nañ suñ jigéen ñi ñoo dee and leneen and it's going to be worse gis nañ Chinese yi dañoo dem ba léegi dañu dóor suñ dëkka dañu tuur essence dañu taal and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Now you're the international community. But with leadership, we can address all this. We will protect it, then make sure you am buga. Then democracy na enrich. The dinner dollar everybody know boka. Soon boke win election. If I fake a win no kusi digger level playing field more am soon democracy without. Then we are confident with that. The opposition butsi topo, dinga opposition be vibrant. Civil society na vibrant. That's what democracy is. Lan lañ ragal ci lolu. Wallo buga Sulayman Suwareh pour nga votal ko. Da nga buga lu Sulayman Suwareh taxawal. Sulayman Suwareh buga ko te nekut def ko ci lu jup, it's not going to help you. Sula fum na ni sula dimbale sa lum la jox dimbalewul la ndik en game bi ñepa ñaaka tay ana ñu baro doon jox sako malo kan lañ jëri kan moko mëna afford ana yépp du mëna dem. The conditions are not conducive for Barrow to win. Nañ waxtaan about elections, but lu ñoo wax fu is the credibility of that election. It's important to make sure ne am nañ credible elections. Okay. Am nañ credible elections and effective. Why? What do I mean by effective? Alaji Momon Jai actually obviously nañu waxante dëgg. If I'm limitation talk, but not only him, he's just the chair, but I'm a limitation, and this might bring the integrity of the elections to be a problem. The challenges you these elections is huge, is bigger. The IEC did we not political parties them nañ talk evaluate the IEC not talk nañ your IEC bi xam seen challenges. We have to make sure the IEC is completely independent. ñu mun effectively operate. Am nañ the finances we need, am nañ the mechanism, and it's been used right. Am nañ the technology, am nañ everything that they need. That's part of what the opposition do. But during talk, one of the ways that Barrow would do it is to staff the IEC in order make sure what I'm not going to say things here, but I'll tell you we know what can happen. But yombut. What I'm telling you now, suñ waxee about elections dama ne yombut such elections. Barrow amut what it takes. Man lu ma ragal, it's not about Barrow losing election or win. Lu ma ragal mooy the destabilization of the country, because am na loo xam ne Barrow is desperate. Sàcce yu Barrow sàcce ak ñum àndal tappale yuñ tappale abuse of power yuñ def ragal nañ ne bés bu mu lose elections su Barrow runee elections he would go to jail. Dafa lose election and he go to jail and dina def lu nekk. That's why we should be ready to make sure we avoid destabilization. In order to avoid that, mooy ne democracy bi dox mais so integrity of election taxaw effective elections mun a am the IEC and so on. But it's not amut si loolu. The other thing mooy ne lan tax mu important because end of the road I mean to elections and what happens to deal with the final call to reset the button at the ballot box. This is about final call to reset the button. The fail yuñ fail yep beti tay luñ fail reconciliation bi mooy lan to make sure ne elections ñëw na and democracy bi taxaw na and reset nañ that button and Ben Suwareh win na Aïssatou Mariama Fatmata win na def ko win fairly and jàmm am na xeex amul dara amul because of yëpp dañ ko def mu transparent accountability mun nañ ko en so mu am Gambia ñu ko war a ame ko it's not because of buguloo baro anybody Ben Suwareh mun na oo munut Ben Suwareh jub na oo jubut Ben Suwareh because of Ben Suwareh pol la bakaw la jógee xam nañ ko whatever moo tax o Ben Suwareh am na ñu ko jox xaalis di use xaalis it's not the point nañ make sure ne Ben Suwareh at ñum àndal nekk nañ at luñ wane du luñ wax de luñ wane luñ wax nañ ko déglu ndax ñii luñ wax mu ne dëkk bi tey la gën a naari pour amee then tey mënuñoo négocier ak compétence mënuñ ko tey la gën a niit lu ko génnee fu mu nekk challenge si la fa ëppa moo tax lii yëpp mooy lu ko indi te mënuñ koo am with the status quo dañ need Gambians fu la neex ngeen dem join but da ngeen need pour join pour change not pour join dem toog everything revolve around party leader te Gambia moo fa am everything revolve about party leader now waaw na Ben Suwareh dina taxaw ndax lu taxaw su Ben Suwareh taxaw mbir mi caaf home and you expect that party to be in government ne everything is about Ben Suwareh or Ben Suwareh ak Ben Suwareh lu mu àndal yëpp ay tapalekat waaw Ben Suwareh moom amul problème waaye ñoom àndal te amuñ compétence tapalekat lañ lii at lii and what happened again mooy ne it's just like in coup d'etat sense of entitlement nga am Ben Suwareh ñëw taxaw am political party PDB DP whatever ñëw taxaw amee kabudoom am mun a tapale mun a def ni njuuj njaaj ñu dem taxaw ku nekk taxaw ne waaw man maa defoon li man maa tax waa Bakaw votal la maa tax jigéen ñi maa tax ndaw ñi maa tax lii dama bëgg ambassadeur dama nekk ministre dama nekk lii dama nekk lifit ñuy appoint nga am bloated government nga am incompetent government ñooñu sense of entitlement dañ am pour lan yëkkal nga leen danga leen yëkkal dañ am pour lekka you think that will bring about change no that loolu moo tax su loolu amee rek la fa fekk ñu war a bokk ci politique bi bokk ñoo xam ne dañoo dem te xam nañ an mun nañ te dañ dem pour wéccu te su nekkee ne am nga the right people billahi election du cost yes loolu yëpp si stratégie election du cost that much démba maa ngi wax nit ma explainal ko something that happened last year borom ko xam accountant la ko xam dara ma wax ko lu xew last ma ne ko kan ndax mun nga maa quantify ban value moo fa jóge and in fact dafa deplete your resources te added benn value dafa deplete your resources added benn value because of def politique ñaaka xam def politique loolu yëpp dafa important moo tax soo amee ñu xam lu ñoo def you don't rely on this cabal o ngeen nangu political parties yoo xam ne nekk fi luñ amee yëpp ku leen ñu leen ko jox ay yëpp tapalekat lañ tapalekat fu mu dugal xaalisam dafa expect something bad these things duñ mun a am change lu ma wax pour am real change suñ politique dafa war am integrity suñ démocratie bi dañ ko war sàmm comme suñ jógee government lu ñoo mel moom lañ war a wane opposition dañ war a nekk alternative dañ war a nekk ñu mun ñoo xam ne dañ am na ñu ñooy measure suñ mun policy yu ñoo wax xalaat yu ñoo wax nuñ ko defee ak fuñ jógee dañ am waa nekk ñu am track record waaye tam dañ war a nekk loo xam ne ñuy mun a unite Gambia fa divided tey and loolu liggéey bi léegi la commencé pour ñu taxaw ko duñ mun a continuer si division képp koo xam ne njiiti nga ndig divided Gambia suñ jógee government doo mun a unite Gambia unite bi léegi la commencé at that inspiration leadership booy def tax nit ñi mun laa topp ñu continuer fii. The other aspect mooy safeguard the integrity of the elections and guaranteeing the progress of our democracy, the free and fair elections, security and the judiciary. Security and judiciary leadership of the people's power. The strategy yëpp mooy people's power. You see, yaa jame mën a def lu ñu def. Then yaa jame mën a dugal fear. Gis nga waaye bu ñu ñëwee ba come to our senses, come together, inspire each other ñëpp ñeme. Loolu moo indi that unity of purpose. Unity of purpose bi lan la address moo tax security forces yi important. maa la wax ne any other elections security forces yi nañ doon def lu yaa jame bugga, but the amount of strategy you play into it, security forces yi amuñ hope because they are opportunists. Yes, the major actors are opportunists. Lan lañ bugga survivors. Next minute rek yaa jame faa dem de next government nagee ñëw xaar ñu def nii pour ñu mun a amee suñu rank yi amee lii moo ñu amee. We have to be very careful. Suñ amee that people's power IEC bi maa leen wax ne Alaaji Alu Momon Jaay would not have given us that verdict ni kon mu jox ñu verdict or the elections mu tax ni kon lu bari du doon am. Alaaji Momon Jaay moo njëkk gën a xam ne 300,000 votes yaa jame ko amee woon si bureau bi te mu ngi tapal xam na ko moom si boppam moo ko wax. Have he ever done anything about it? No. Would he have ever done anything about it? No. But this time round, the people power. The people power. More in the change, more in the security. The judiciary. The same people, you take lawyer Dabo. The same people, you take them Nyanan executive. The same people, you take CSOC and other people at Nyanan and security officers. You have the Banyal Yajami. Same people. Buñ demee ba xam ne Yaya Jammeh daanu na lan lañ def ñu doxal loi foog ngeen ne dinañ doon am verdict buñ am su nekkutoon ne Yaya Jammeh moom génnal but su fa tey Adama Barrow nekk fa ñu taxaw di people's power suma brother Ousseynou naka Assane Diallo dafuta assign KCC to judge boo xam ne ko njuuj njaaj because of xam na what it come to him. te maa leen ne su nekkee ne organise suñu boppam Assane Diallo na ko def. I'll tell you that. People soo leen caaxaanee ñoo leen a gis ni yëpp dese Barrow I'll tell you they will do the bidding for Barrow lu leen a change ñun ñoo leen mun a jox that courage. The people's power. The people's power. Judiciary bi maa leen wax ne su nekkee ne taxawuñ jël leadership am leadership in the opposition am leadership in civil society ñu taxaw as people security forces yi lu Adama Barrow bëgg nañ ko def. I'm telling you this lie. IEC nañ ko def. I'm telling you this lie. But do you know what? xam naa ne dina am leadership bi gëm naa ne dina génn just as when I said ne Yaya Jammeh dina gis lu musuta gis Adama Barrow na gis lu musuta gis nañ leen dem nañ ko waxtaan. We are not going to say ni no dañ ko waxtaan teg ko mu gis ko dégg ko because jàmm lañ bëgg is part of lu ñu control pour tam won ñum àndal. When I was doing that time Yaya Jammeh hey yaa ngi wax Yaya Jammeh security yaa ngi déedéet man Yaya Jammeh xam na security yëpp moo tax mu mun koo amee ñan lañ doon waxal mooy ñu ko defal lañ doon wax ne ñun xam nañ fu taxaw di te nii la ñoo def te nañ ñëw def ko amul nu ba ñoo gën a xam lu xew dañ leen a wan ne am nañ courage bi rawatina jamono ji moo tax ma ne leen ne Adama Barrow xamul li sunum toog mënut a teg nit ñi loo xam ne Yaya Jammeh teguñu ko woon mënu koo teg te mënu ñoo teg loo xam ne moom la ñu Yaya Jammeh tegoon amut dëkk boobu la ñoo taxaw wax lu ñu ne la ñoo taxaw def lu ñu ne si loo xam ne ànd na loi protection boppa daa kum daf laal ñu seetlu moo xam but lana tax ma bañ loolu there's a way you do that duñ fa egga booy ñoo jox Adama Barrow the audacity because dëkk bi mooy yëngatu bëgguñ yëngatu bi we want this thing to be done orderly people's power su taxawee orderly moo tax Yaya Jammeh end up later te man la ne su people's power amut ñu taxaw the international would not play with us te démba lu xew ngi dis desperados the NPP how ma MPP at this desperados ignorant ne waaw gisuñ signature si statement bi waa boobu this desperados so statement bi nekkoon wrong by now da ngeen dégg a disclaimer from the American embassy for the Germans and the EU the desperados taxaw dina wax ne waa EU bi ñooy kan neocolonialism nonsense ku teg si parti bi wala uppa teg si parti bi am na right to the party te àddina bi dafa am loi te ñun dañ signature to those loi te suñ démocratie bi ñoo ko protect économique bu ñoo wax extension am suñ ko garanti wu du am suñ taxawtoon waxu ma ne Yaya Jammeh du génn but na doon génnee neneen te buggee wuñ ko noonu soo gisee mu génnee nu mu génnee because international community bi dañ taxaw and ñoo garanti that peace te ñun dañ bokk si those dañ bokk si Commonwealth bi dañ bokk si organisation si and si benefit who are we nekk sovereign state la fa foog tax ne you are an island and ñu ko wax because of what Adama Barrow moo tax ngeen foog ne you can say these things ñàkk a jom ah anything loo leen am every time yéen a ngi taxaw di celebrate ne am nañ tali am nañ lii seen xaalis boo leen a fay lampo mënu leen koo gis lu fa taxaw luñ leen lebal la wala lu mu jógee feneen ngeen bu ko wax moo tax ñu dee déglu these people sax di leen entertain di leen jox audacity because of we are not organized and not organized soobee yàlla nañu the international community would play a crucial role in this te dina am and will all come to play nekkul ne dañ leen yaakaar these people will not do if we don't we have to lift it to that level pour mu am everything will come into play fa lañ toll just a quick one bëgg naa certain things bala maa génn maa naa génn in 15 minutes or so mooy to bëgg a cover some areas yoo xam ne Ousmane Jammeh koo xam ne moo author the constitutional law of the Gambia 1965 to 2010 a brother from Bakau koo xam ne nekkoon a barrister nekkoon a master of the Supreme Court nekkoon I think a magistrate if I'm right fu mu ne nii mu ngi si international community mu ngi write an article about this constitution and I was going to deal not on laal lu bari why because of change now the discussion change from what it is but am na better areas yoo xam ne bëgg naa koo laal pour mu setaat I know in the conversation in the parliament was not about anything it was just about play for Barrow and ñu vote yëpp they voted because of Barrow they didn't vote because of dañ am problem with the constitution but am na genuinely man suma boppa genuinely am na many areas I disagree but that's what constitutions are lan laa war a def or lan lañ war a make sure next time round we have it the way boo xam ne we believe ne is progressive it's not ne it empowers me alone no it's progressive it's for the future constitution dafa war nekk for the future I'm going to read different I'm not reading duma mën a read the whole article is about 10 pages I'm going to read portions xam ne dafa relevant or yu ma bëgg a promo yu ma bëgg a highlight sorry I'll start from the presidential system government, which traditionally follows the French Republican system or the U.S. Republican Constitution of 1789 with different mutations, are the preferred choice in Africa. Many former British colonies, however, choose their own unique brand of U.S. presidential style with significant modification in preference to the Westminster Parliament system in the United Kingdom. Preference for the U.S. model was arguably to ensure stability at the top in order to make meaningful socio-economic progress. This is the point. This is to answer people, then prejudice. And you call here, because they don't understand what constitutions are. Go and give me any African country, but I'm an African constitution. Tell me. The man wax any constitution in fact in most of these advanced democracies nga ne ma amut fuñ ko jël Go and understand the transformation of Turkey from the Ottomans to modern Turkey, a secular state Turkey, when Kemal Atatürk get them hold their laws. Some of was German, some of was Italy. These things, they are hold progressive. So they hang a cut and paste outward, but then go into the relevance of that country. For the relevance for that country, this is what l'Union one in Africa. In fact, I mean, especially Anglophone Africa, then the presidential style. Niklan. Because when you're on independence, it was a debate. Debate ne ñom Kwame, ñom Nyerere, and some of these pan-Africanists ne ñoo multi-party. Bahut si Africa democracy bobo, it's not the right for Africa. Africa, New German use the communist, socialist, and all this kind of lining, or even some of them been selfish to hold control. The one party state more unite, one party state more progress. And these people made these arguments. Sekou Touré and others, because the power goes to them. The other African countries, no, they want this style of democracy, and they look at it. They prefer the presidential style because the power of the executive, the way it is the executive, the president, the cabinet, rather than the Westminster style, Mohammed is parliament. Gambia started that way as parliamentary representations and so on. But Gambia, after 81, feeling then change a bit. I mean, but still now was a hybrid kind of thing. What I wanted, this is how it came about. And what to Gambia toge bene, yes, we have the presidential system, but we have to make sure we have this caveat. There's some powers away from the president, or powers you control certain ways. Appoint, that's how progressive it is. What you are think of pressurize it's matter of what and la fo ruslu pour ku janga talk di wax lo xamne teguloo ko fen. It continue. Consequently, it is also important to share different views with the CRC as we look forward to the validation process within, including a referendum, which may hopefully, forward forward to the validation process, including a referendum, which may hopefully translate the new draft constitution into our third Republican constitution. Then he come out again to say, however, Republican presidentialism and secular government are not and cannot be isolated from the realities of local circumstances, values, and other ethos, which are relevant for effective intermediations of our society and collective management of public affairs as equal citizens. The Republican values of popular participation in the government, civic affairs, and private sector activities are citizens driven. When we first had the privilege of reviewing the legislation that created the CRC in December 2017, and whilst it was generally accommodatable, it too suffered from certain oversight shortage, such of the threshold of inclusive objective. This is understandable. So, because often legislation intent and policy are meant to translate the subjective view of a government into action, despite the best pretense of the objective. This is very important to note. Every constitution, before we constitution for include values, the ethos of society, traditions would have to. But the traditions and ethos and values cannot be contradicting to democratic norms. It cannot be discriminatory. These are the issues, what are the Magna Carta, what are the fundamental freedoms, the foundation of every constitution. If it infringes that cannot sit in a progressive constitution. But these are the things. But in fact, during the process of bringing out the constitution, that act of parliament put in that act of parliament, my government si bopam pour what buga wane nakala buge o nakala buge mu ñew motax tay dafa ruslu nañ dem xol lan mo nek ci act of legislation. It's about the two terms. It's about the separation of powers, a guaranteed separation of powers. Is about the control the powers of the executive. It's about the 50+1. And these are the things that are missing in 1997 constitution. Now you are settling for the 1997 constitution because of what? Because of what? But you continue from Mr. Jame's observation. So this limoneka the issue about here. Mu continue implementation of legislation remain a work in progress as we move into the validation process phase of the draft constitution. Needless, section 22 of the CRC bill 2017, which was not enacted, has proven to be too expensive. It reads, the president shall, within 6 days of receiving the constitution and the reports under section 21(1), transmit a copy thereof to the National Assembly. It took 6 months to complete that stage of the validation. This omission can be attributed to the National Assembly. You see? Deliberate violation. Did we say anything about it? No. Within 6 days, he should send a copy. But he did not send a copy. It took him 6 months. Sit on it. Now, you know a problem. Proactive. Fala don't know about the proactiveness. Let's continue with Mr. Jame's article. It is equally important to revisit the shortcomings of an imperfect document with the hope of finding an informed concession before a referendum to validate the draft constitution. What I agree, Parliament can have a look at it and take it to the community stage, and revise it. Subjecting its product to scrutiny is part of the accountability process for all Gambians. This is also quality control exercise because in doing so, we expect it to rise above parachute sentiments by treating all the views, however critical, with respect and not with contempt. Moreover, it is timeless to that the difference to all the views in management of public affairs is a good measure of tolerance, humility, and wisdom. The idea is therefore not a perfect document for a perfect country, as the CRC chairman acknowledged, but because it is also undeniable that no man-made constitution can aspire to perfection. As we said, the scrutiny process is because of the promote, and this should have been encouraged to make sure they definitely to take other people's view, and whether lightning or not, we have to give people respect and hold up. And we are not to put that on sentiments. We are the majority. We do as we wish. How can you? You can be a Muslim majority country, but different Muslims want different things. The Tijaniya, the Nyasen, the Wahhabi, the Salafi, and other people have different views. You cannot say we represent the same Muslims. It's completely impossible. Then these things are important for modern scrutiny, and that's why it needed to be done. It continued. The other part, Bumlal, because I'm just pretty highlighting areas that I wanted to highlight, but as I said, it's 10 pages. The precedents and its branch check. The issue of residency as a qualification of disqualification of citizens to run for presidency in the form of a long residency requirement of the 3 years preceding a presidential election is disingenuous and at least discriminatory. Act 93(1)(c), which define ordinary residents in the Gambia, violate the equal clause of the Constitution, affording different treatment to citizens. Alternatively, residents of no more than 1 year is understandable. Firstly, the rationale is difficult to understand because there are many potential candidates who may not be as informed of local circumstances before the beyond the pre-urban area. Whilst more informed diasporans are in depth with local affairs on a real-time basis. Secondly, the economic importance of the hard-working diasporan cannot be disregarded, nor underestimated. Thirdly, why why the reduce of the 3 years of residence? Because the former regime had a similar retrogressive clause to deny some Gambians the remote possibility of returning home. Take less of daring to contest for the presidency, certainly a more progressive provision than Article 93(1)(c) is imperative. Ban MP ngeen dégg mu raise this objection. Ban MP more recognize the diaspora gets that discrimination. These people talk about discrimination and the importance of giving chance or the right to Gambians. Did they raise that? No, it's not their interest. And the argument Mr. Jammeh made here, one is a right. We should not really take that right. Pune Hamulo 3 years. Why? That was a mechanism put by the dictator. I feel that I leave Gambia. Depends. Ngente, ditch, lopidan, everything else, nahar, bane, I mean, every problem, community, every country. How can you yangi deka Gambia ta nadang mo upada? These are the issues. You know what? Then definitely. Let's move on because I'm in time. Mu continue on here. Certainly, a more progressive provision than Article 93, 93(1)(c) is imperative. It must be reconsidered in the interest of fairness and equality. Subsection 1(f) and 3 of the provisions are equally disturbing because the latter clearly debase the quality and qualifications of the eligible candidate for the presidency by elaborating that the person's private sector experience will count irrespective of what he or she did if he had a basic secondary school education. That's completely a point. How can you just say something like that? I mean, to just say the young private sector, it's not a merit. But let's move on to more things here. More importantly, on the issue of the interbranch check, which is fundamental to a presidential system of government as a preferred model, this inherent mistrust of the people to leave so much power in few hands is evident. A natural caveat to the delegated authority is in public law. It is vulnerability to a false premise that the person exercising delegate power will not abuse it. Yes, we should not take the chance. We have seen enough. Therefore, whilst there are several provisions alluding to the need for diversity, which is imperative, it should have been clear as will be demonstrated. Equally, the executive authority vested in the president should not be elevated above the realms of the metaphysical. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's an aga that is valid today than ever. Indeed, it is correct to assert that for the most part, the Second Republic provided a tragic experience of the constitutional expression of an executive president. Our fear of an imperial presidency echoed since our sovereign victory in 2017 are well founded. Therefore, leaving this to chance is the new in the new dispensation will be imprudent. Fortunately, the new checks and scope of the limits of the mandate and all the confirmatory and consultative requirements on the powers of the president are perhaps the most effective checks in the draft, especially in section 1152. However, the notable exception of the choice of vice president in section 1101 and section 2 from the same scrutiny as the rest of the cabinet from the National Assembly confirmatory process defy logic and consistency. It too deserves to be revisited and the upcoming debate by the National Assembly. This is very important. These are the most important points. The president can just appoint anybody without the scrutiny that is needed when we ask for scrutiny of ministers, to MDs and other things, but the vice president can be anybody. But in if you go down in the article, it's telling you what something happened to the president, vice president assume. Then, regardless of who the vice president is, the vice president can be de facto become a president who's not elected or who have not been scrutinized. What? These are things you have. We definitely these are defects. You have people should raise in parliament, but did they raise that? No. Send raise be yep was an excuse. It continued. I mean, dafa am benn part bu ma laal rek mu jeex, but I mean, it's an article to read. It's an article to read. Let me go to the final area I want to touch on before leaving here. The citizenship section 14 to 22. The thorny issue of citizenship remain an important, if not a controversial one too, because of the obvious challenges associated with the immigration and immigration in our recent history of misrule. So fast to say that the growing Gambian diaspora is effectively outnumbered by the new flow of immigrants from the West African sub-region in the last 3 decades. The fact that the constitution have classified citizens as naturally born citizens or by descent is up. However, whilst dual citizenship remain a necessary hazard of 21st century global reality, our local realities call for a new construct. Nothing, therefore, should be deterring a natural born citizen of the Gambia from enjoying their full rights of citizens, including elective office, whether inside or outside the Gambia. Furthermore, it should be of concern that the CRS decided to open a citizenship to aliens born in the Gambia who have lived in the Gambia before 30th December 2019 to apply for citizenship by registration rather than through naturalization in Section 21A of the new draft. Chapter 6 on citizenship further call for special scrutiny because it is disheartening to note that whilst diasporan citizens are being empowered, a disjunous citizenship clause in Section 21A open our citizenship to several thousand illegitimate residents, whose country do not require them to renounce their citizenship just because they choose to reside in the Gambia. Instead, it states in part, an act of national parliament may make provision for a registration as a citizen of the Gambia of a person who on or before the 31st of December 2019 was born in the Gambia to a non-Gambian parent. If the person had since his or her birth live in the Gambia, The above provision is a complete opposite of the citizen's requirement under Section 17, which deals with the naturalization as a perfect and legitimate mechanism to enable legislation. We are fully aware of the effect of a net migration on the generations of Gambians, especially since 1994, and the obvious imbalance immigration from the West Africa sub-region, especially from our immediate neighbor state in the ONVG cluster states. Therefore, Section 21A is perfect amnesty to facilitate mass acquisition of Gambian citizenship with much ease than through the naturalization route. This has obvious consequences, not least in most density populated countries in West Africa. Moreover, none of our immediate neighboring countries facilitate mass acquisition of citizenship, which such ease and consistent patterns of inward migration have shown that Gambians are not attracted to those countries in any significant number. Moreover, the regional ECOWAS protocols on free movement of people is full legal protection. Therefore, the status quo must be maintained. Presidential appointment in public. This is a very important point to note. Part of the assessment of national security is in balance of population. Is part of assessment of national security in balance of population in many aspects. And the management of migration is a national security concern as well, because the sentiments of xenophobia, sentiments of nationalism, and other things, the distortion of the economy, the distortions of the nation identity is important. It's a threat to the sovereignty of that nation. That's why it's a national security issue. I am glad that my brother, Mr. Jammeh, have raised these points eloquently as he did. We have to be very careful to just to shout out pan-Africanism. We have to be real. We are a sovereign state. We have to manage our sovereignty. We have to look at our interests and safeguard that interest. Other countries are doing the same. There is no West African country or African country that completely open migration. Ghana will tell you African American can come in. It's because of the dollar. It's because of the dollar. It's a managed migration because they want investment. We cannot just say, oh, we cannot deny. And this argument, wow, I'm Kate Benedica Bonango. This is a lame argument. It's not smart. If people are exposing themselves to be not smart, you cannot do these arguments. Let's say in this West Africa, just as Mr. Jammeh said, you have the right to travel and work and reside. But if you choose to be a citizen, you have to naturalize. What's difficult about that? In here, you have to naturalize to be a citizen. You can have a residence, but does not make you a citizen. It's a different thing. You have the right to work and claim benefits, but does not make you a citizen. Now, why is it important in West Africa? Right now in Ghana and Nigeria, they are fighting an embargo. I mean, business embargo. These things do happen because everybody wants to protect their interests. And Gambia, we should be very careful. Our land mass is very small. We are the smallest country. The population density, the resources, and everything have to be managed in order for us to flow. Our identity and everything need to be managed. To say that, nay, you can just become, and we have to be very careful here. If we are not careful, our country will be determined. The elections and everything can be determined by people who are loyal. These people, it's just contradiction. Gambian diasporans are not even recognized to run for elections. But now, people who have allegiance, and because of what we are, what do you call them? Our loyalty is a questionable. Our loyalty is questionable. We aspire to run for elections. Our loyalty is questionable. We have the opportunity to do it here. We choose to do it down there. To serve who? Everything we do, we are serving there. We are disloyal to this community if you look at it. But no. But look at it now. Mass migration the way it is. Distorts the economy, distorts the population and everything. Election come. These people are not going to, I mean, you know how many people can just be born in the Gambia and just get the papers and move away? And this, you cannot why America America is a country of migrants in a sense more it's part by control and good for their economy. Xenophobia and other things might bring things up, but immigration don't work for America. In Italy right now, they are encouraging because they need the workforce. The population is of older generation. We are a youthful population. These things here been quite hard. Guys, feel what time the muna I mean, good on a top, but as we said, mom now it's up to us. If things are broken, we have to fix it, and we Gambians know how to fix. The Gambians, we all Gambians, especially new it's not about the politicians in you fail. You fail. Gambia more fail. But this is not entirely a fail. It's part of the process, it's a journey. People have made their history. Let that history be not be ours. Let's make our history. And we can change that. And we have to be careful. And we have to make sure we are proactive to determine the outcome of the elections. Barrow have prepared himself. We have to have a constituency. We have to understand what is next. We should know what is next. We should learn from other countries. We should learn from what had happened. It's the same thing. But to show yala, nañ ñëwaat waxtaan about elections and how things are. And when we do this, is manage to avoid conflict, to avoid destabilization. That's where we are going to go if we leave things without participating and taking control. We have the right to demand Barrow because he have completely failed the transition. He have failed to I mean to transform anything or to give the Gambian people anything. He have failed. Gambian suñ neexoon tey organise seen bopp ne Barrow mu wàcca te dafa am pour wàcc. Am ngeen loi doore boobu si démocratie because of a fail. Regardless, the mandate is not about the time. The mandate is about delivery. lu mu am pour deliver lan la wax pour deliver mooy transition. He felt a transition moo yóbbu a bill in parliament boo xam ne moo war a indi dooleel ñu pour ñu am dooleel ñu pour ñu am sorry sister I'm on the radio moom ñu war a dooleel but mu fail moo ko dem undermine moo undermine parliament. These are enough evidence. But Gambia, as we said, whatever we do it by the law. But whatever we do it through leadership. And leadership like Mokumuna Indi, and we have that leadership. We just have to come together and make sure that leadership come out of us. And Mumuna. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good night. We'll come back Friday and complete it.